So Gautam, what would be your advice to leaders at this point in time? To people who are sitting at this time of disruption, imagining the worst or fearing things the most, what would be your advice to them? Personal advice, more as leaders and less as leaders and people and less as corporation head honchos or whatever.
Sure. Look, I think there are a couple that come to mind, Umang. First is, as I was in this, that I do these CEO forums, and somebody said this beautiful thing that, look, fear and anxiety is natural when you're going through a crisis like this, but let the fears not conquer us. So we have to execute despite the fears. And I think the execution has to be paramount despite the fears. So I think that's the first thing I would say. Let's confront our fears, but let's not be beholden to those. And let's find a way to execute despite the fears. So that's one mindset I think we need to have. So courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is action despite fear.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing I would say. I think the second lesson I would say, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for all leaders to reflect and invest some time in themselves. Because as they often say, if you're in an airplane and I think there's turbulence, you have to take care of yourself first. And I think the same holds true for leaders. I think if you can't take care of yourself and your own mental well-being and physical well-being, it's very hard for you to be available to the organization. So second thing I'd say is use this time to invest in yourself and see how you're going to grow and frankly take advantage of this crisis, because something like this doesn't hit us. For most of us, it'll be the only time, hopefully, in our career. So let's at least make the most of it. Third, I would say is, I think I often say mentors. I often say, being leaders is a lonely job, particularly the higher you go at the top, the lonelier you get. So I would always encourage people to find a group of people with whom they can have an open dialogue and consider them as mentors to get some advice. And finally, I would say, this is the time to make bold moves. I think ultimately when you step back and look at it 5 years from now, I think most people will regret that they did not make the difficult calls, they did not make the bold choices. So that would be the last thing I would say.
Gautam, one of the things that you said very early to me in my career was manage your energy, right? Not your time. And I think that has at least held me in good stead. And I'd like to thank you for that. So great, Gautam, you're a super reader. You read a lot. What's the book you're reading right now?
Oh, well, I'm reading actually, but my problem is I read 2-3 books at the same time.
All of us have that because we all have this attention deficit right now. So
I know.
No book.
I'm not sure that's a good habit, but the one that I'm reading I find intriguing is a book called Principles. It's written by Ray Dalio. I don't know if you know Ray Dalio. He was the founder of Bridgewater. And,
no, I'm not. I've not versed with him. Yeah.
Actually, what's funny, what is amazing about the book is Bridgewater is one of the fiercest capitalistic hedge funds, right? That's basically was built to make money. And yet you look at this book and it feels like to me the Gita of the capitalistic world, because what this guy, after he's spent his entire life building this firm, talks about principles to lead business and lead life. And I think that really struck me. Because if you think about it, I think as leaders, we all have a set of principles that drive us. We never make it explicit. Right? So for example, somebody may say, we have to work hard in life. Okay, that's a principle. You have to make the most of every opportunity you get. That's a principle. So what this guy has done is he's basically written down all his principles. And I think it makes for an excellent reading. So that's the one I'm reading right now.
Super. I just read Power of Moments. I don't know if you ever read that book, Gautam. It was written by 2 brothers. The Power of Moments.
What is it about?
How you can, and it's about how you can change your engagement within employees and between people just with the moments that you have with each of them. So the book was written in 2018 and I somehow never got around to reading it, but it's a great guide on how organizations can build a better rapport with people, and how you create recognition events, right? This whole thing about it being spontaneous, and they have this word called break the script, right? So when you're trying to recognize something or you're trying to do something for someone, just go out of way to do it, because those moments stay with people. And there was also this other thing that I really thought was very simply stated. And we all know it, but the way the book brought it out was excellent. And they said, there's a reason why companies do well in crisis. And suddenly you find that there's this magic team glue that's suddenly working. And what goes up in crisis, Gautam, is responsiveness.
Yes.
Right, to each other. And if we are able to maintain the same responsiveness right? And in our usual existence, you typically do not have issues of engagement between teams. So it was very insightful the way they brought this whole concept out, saying that responsiveness is the biggest thing that builds trust between teams. So I found that pretty endearing. And then the fact that crisis.
Yeah, no, Umang, you make a very interesting point, because one thing, I don't know if you feel that way, but I think we've been all surprised by how much more individuals have been able to do in this crisis, and you kind of wonder. No, I don't know what your reflection is on that.
No, absolutely, and to something that was absolutely not possible, becoming possible in 2 days, Gautam. Yeah. Right, we've basically all been doing this, and you have gotten your whole thing is about meeting clients, right? And overnight you've made this transition, right, into meeting clients virtually, into having these type of sessions with them, where you're talking to them, guiding them. And I think it's remarkable. The possibilities are endless if we can imagine them. I think it's just that, and I agree with you. But so great, Gautam. I think lovely to have a chat with you. Any parting thoughts, Gautam, on the road ahead for all of us?
No, I think the only parting thought I'd say is, I think this is a leadership moment. I think if you go back to look at Winston Churchill, Winston Churchill was a hero only in the World War. He was never seen as a leader before the World War, and he was never seen as a leader after the World War. So I think this is an opportunity for every Cipla person to be the Winston Churchill of the Corona crisis.
That's right. I hope you're not promoting an anarchy within Cipla.
Not at all. But I think it's a moment to surprise yourself. I often say, what will you do now that 2 years from now you look back and say, wow, I surprised myself.
Correct. And we'd love to see this year and remember this year, not only because of what it caused, but the power of being able to reimagine ourselves, the power of making the most out of what we could in this year. And I think that's...
One other thought one that struck me, I take this opportunity also to frankly compliment all the Cipla colleagues, because as what you guys are doing to contribute to managing this crisis, whether it's the antivirals or whether it's frankly all the other things that the company is doing, I think it's truly remarkable. Thank you for that. And I remember the other day I was on some WhatsApp group actually.
Thank you, Gautam.
And somebody was saying, do you know somebody at Cipla? Because we need this drug and this and that. And I could see, that's the real difference that you're making to people's lives at this time. And I think it's quite important.
Thank you, Gautam. Thank you. For each and every employee at Cipla, this will mean a lot, because I think this truly comes out with a spirit of caring for life. But more than anything else, Gautam, thank you for taking time out. I know everyone's rushed calendars is, exact time slots for calls, but you made the time today. Lovely having a chat. I hope to see you sometime in person and have this chat over a cup of coffee. And keep well, Gautam. Keep well till then, and thank you.
Thanks for inviting me.